And it is official. We are live right now, simulcasting across, let's see here, YouTube, Twitch, the Facebook group community, and as well on a new platform, Walt, Amazon Live. Dude.
Amazon Live.
Yeah, so thanks to
had a little bit of hiccup starting it. Though,
it just honestly, Restream does a fantastic job in aggregating all this stuff out there and managing all this stuff. But sometimes a ding dong doesn't know what he's doing because he's brand new to this. When you go on Amazon, you actually have to enable it on the phone in order to do it. So there's like one extra layer of having to do things. So welcome to Live Streaming Tech here. My name is Dale.
And I'm Walt.
And we are going to be talking about the some of the best webcams to consider here. And we're only going to speak on experience right now. So if you came here and you're like, hey, I want to know about XYZ webcam, or I want to learn about this webcam, we won't be able to give you too much insights beyond what we're going to be able to give you today. And today is just kind of like a test stream. We're just really trying to test waters over on Amazon Live. So if you're watching this on any of the platforms, to get the really full viewing experience, come over to Amazon Live. That's at livestreamingtech.com/Amazon Live, because we're going to be pointing down to some of the products. So if you're watching it on Facebook, or if you're watching it on YouTube, or you're watching it on Twitch, you're watching it in the cheap seats, you got to come on over.
Cheap seats.
Yeah, you got to come on over to Amazon Live, where you'll actually get some context to some of the stuff. So before we break into things, I just want to give a big shout out to the people that have come in, and that would be, of course, I see Terrence from Inside the Lab PC Tech. How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. Anybody else? Sadly, Walt doesn't have a chat on his end of things. I should have hooked you up with the chat. Whoops.
Yeah, I should open up the Restream chat. Oh well.
Yeah, it happens. So, all right, well, let's not kick tires too long and such. Again,
hey, Dr. Elo. Hello, everyone. Yeah,
Dr. Elo. Oh, good to see you, buddy.
Elo. I said Elo.
That's A-okay. It's great to see you, man. Marco Summer. It's good to see you here. Yeah, all right. We got some people showing on up here. Would love to hear from each and every single one of you that are watching this. What webcam do you currently use? Please don't drop links, because YouTube gets a little bit all messed up on that, and Twitch does as well. So wherever you're watching us from, I want to know what is your preferred webcam. And also, if you're videoing or doing any kind of pre-recorded tapes on YouTube, why did I say tapes? You could see like that just aged
You were in the
right
studio.
there.
Yeah, you were in the studio.
This is true. But what are you using for pre-recorded? I'm going to say this like right now. Here's a really cool thing. Spoiler alert. Walt, what webcam are you currently using?
Logitech Brio.
Okay, and I'm currently using the Sony a6400. We are going to be talking about each one of these in some capacity as this live stream goes on. But what we're going to do is let's look on over here. Live chat inside the Lab PC Tech. He's got a Logitech C920. Logitech C920, don't sleep on that. It actually is really good. Oh, Dr. Elo, I know he's got a killer one. Sony a5100 with a Sigma 16mm f1.4. We're Sigma brothers. I've got that exact same one. Yeah, love me some of that Sigma. It was funny, Walt. I had ordered a Sony one based on Sean Cannell's recommendation, and I can't remember the size. It was gigantic though, and it cost $900.
Yeah,
$900. I get a hold of my boy down in the South there, my boy down in Louisiana, Jeff Eatley. Jeff does professional photography and videography, and he's like, nah, man, send that back.
He said, send it back.
He's like, send it back, man. You don't need that. He's like, that's too much for you, man. You need a Sigma 16mm, man. Just order this. He's like, trust me, you're gonna love it. And I'm like, all right, man. So I went ahead and I gave it a shot. I really love it. Now, see, unfortunately, since the screen is kind of condensed down and we're using Zoom, and as well, you guys and gals are watching us in 720p because Amazon Live only takes 720p. Any rate, it's kind of condensed this down, so you can't get the full effect of what the Sony a6400 with the Sigma lens is going to do for you. But the cam inside of my laptop, Marco said, hey, you got to use what you got. I know for the longest time I had used my, and I'm going to flash this up here. It's going to be like Inception here. I used my MacBook Pro mic and camera for like the longest time. Heck, my wife even built like 3,000, 4,000 subscribers on just her MacBook Pro alone. No fancy cams, no microphones, things like that. Alrighty. Well, dude, you ready to pull the trigger? You ready to do this? Let's go ahead and start talking about some of the cams today. And right. I tell you what, let's start it out with the cheapest of the bunch here. And keep in mind, if you're watching this on Amazon Live, which again, join us at livestreamingtech.com/Amazon Live. You'll be able to see all the products and you can click all that and follow along with us. So we're going to start it out with the Logitech C920. I'm going to pop this up on the screen between our two heads here. You can't see it, Walt, but you can just point towards my direction.
Yeah. I got you. Well, at any rate, this was my secondary streaming camera. So originally I started out with one of the old Logitech balls. If you guys remember those from the 90s, yes, that is what I started streaming with, and literally had it duct taped to the top of a coffee can because I lost the base to it. Eventually I upgraded to the C920, and that was leaps and bounds over what I think I could only do 420p. With the ball. So to be able to do up to 1080 was great. Even though I still stuck around the lower frames originally because my PC at the time wasn't as powerful and whatnot. So I figured just because I had the cam on, no need to go overboard with it.
Yeah.
It was more about providing that game content or whatever. But the C920 definitely is a great starter cam. And I would like to point out right now it's going on Amazon for $149.99. Now, I know a lot of you probably just winced a little bit, but Dale, maybe you can explain why the price has possibly gone up on this type of cam.
You know, we're right now in the midst of this whole pandemic, and it comes down to supply and demand. A lot more people are doing live streaming. It's become more popular. It's become an option that people really need to have sometimes to even work from home. So it comes down to supply and demand. And at first, you know, we were talking about this. And by the way, this is just theory. This is just theory we're going to throw out here. This is our speculation that we thought at first it was third-party sellers were just jacking the prices. But if you look even on Amazon and even other retailers online, you will see the prices went up. So this had to have trickled down from Logitech headquarters.
And even brick and mortar, because I think you even commented on brick and mortar Best Buy. Best Buy's prices were up as well.
Yeah, so you know, where we used to be accommodated to a Logitech C920 being roughly about $50, it is at $150. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Every single one of these things, I'm going to tell you, worth the investment. It just depends if you have that type of money to invest in it. So we're not going to be sitting here trying to be used car salesman or snake oil salesman and telling you that if you get this camera, it's going to, you know, change your life and such. But the Logitech C920 is honestly, I know Owen Video still uses a Logitech C920. I know that our boy Eddie Garrison uses it. I think even Dan Courier from Creator Fundamentals, and of course Terrence from PC Inside the Lab PC Tech, he also uses C920. So it's more than sufficient to get the job done. And you know, in some instances, so if you were, for instance, to live stream over to Amazon Live, by the way, it's more than sufficient because Amazon Live only takes 720p at 30 frames per second. So just know your platform and know that at least the Logitech and all of these are completely flexible to the platform. So love me some Logitech C920. Walt nails it. Great starter camera. By all means, again, if you're watching on Amazon Live, you can actually access that information right below our window here. All right, so any rates.
Anyway, did you want to pull that up? Did you want to show them what that actually looks like? Dale, you actually have that one hooked up right now.
I do. I'm so glad that you said this. So right now, I'm on the Sony a6400, which we will get to in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and just compare between the Sony a6400 and if you go over to the C920. You see that? And they're side by side. So I would probably have to pull down the shade just a little bit so I'm not being so washed out and tweak some of the coloring. Lighting. This is the Logitech C920 naked. Nothing's on it. I have no filters. I haven't changed anything in OBS. It's just what you see is what you get. It can be tweaked if you're using OBS, especially. It looks really good. Really, really, really good. So Glad you brought that one up. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go back over to the Sony a6400 here. And here we go. So next one on the docket, man. Tell me about this one.
Okay, I'm assuming we're jumping over to the Logitech Brio. I have that pulled up. Logitech Brio right now is going for $269.98. Once again, I kind of wince at that one. When it first came out, that was pretty much the price point, and then it dropped down. But as Dale was talking about, we're thinking supply and demand because everyone's using Zoom and whatnot. Everyone's basically trapped in their houses. So they're buying up webcams to talk to their loved ones and family and whatnot. I mean, once again, we're just speculating. We're not in the know. It's not like Logitech tapped us on the shoulder and said, hey, this is what's going on. This is why we had to raise the prices. But bang for your buck. I love this camera. It's going to be a while before I upgrade out of the Logitech Brio. I find that it does exactly what I need to do. Of course, I didn't dial in my lighting today too much, and Dale says, don't worry about it. You look fine. You're going to look washed out anyways. You're around lighting too much. He knows I'm horrible at setting up lighting. I am awful at that. So 9 times out of 10, he'll usually do the lighting for me and get me dialed in. But when you got that Logitech Brio dialed in, it is an awesome webcam. And I would say that this is probably a mid-level. I know a lot of people sit there and think, well, it's an upper level cam, but really, to be honest with you, what the old price point was, it was definitely a mid-level.
Yeah, it's really, I love Logitech Brio. When I bought it, I got it at like on sale. It might have been right around Q4 for like $170. So you had asked me last night, you were like, hey, if you had to pay for it at this price point, would you still do it? I'd say yeah. I wouldn't go above 300 because once you start going above 300, to me, you might as well just go ahead and save some money aside and just switch over to DSLR because at that point, you can really go high level and such. But let me go ahead and you can see right now, folks, Walt's got the 4K on right now, the Brio 4K. Keep in mind, even though
not running 4K, so.
It's not running 4K, correct? Because unfortunately,
let's break that out.
The different platforms won't allow for that, anyways. We wouldn't be able to stream over to Amazon Live at 4K, so we actually have to scale it back to 720. So if you're kind of underwhelmed and you're going, well, that's all I'm getting, believe it or not, it's doing some pretty good color. Now, let me go ahead and show you. Let's go look at the C920 again. So this is the C920. All right. So we saw this. And then let's go over to the Brio now. And now, I'm sorry I couldn't put it side by side, but you can see right here, I put it on my other monitor to where we can kind of see, like, it's really good high definition. And actually, if you were to just compare one to the other, okay, you can see, like, honestly, I spent considerable amount more money on the Sony a6400 for live streaming on a webcam for a6400. We'll get to that in just a minute. Is it worth that extra investment? I think that's going to probably be your call. Me, I'm using the a6400 more than I'll be using the Brio. So I'll be using the a6400 when I'm doing vlogging or if I'm doing remote shooting and things like that. Brio is not that flexible. I can't take that, put it on, say a pod switch and just shoot some videos. It's not going to work. But for live streaming, love it. Love it. If someone told me you couldn't get any other camera, you need to pick one for doing webcams, I would say Brio all the time because it is fantastic. Now, we had our fair share of some heartaches with it.
You did, not me. You did.
Anything that you want to add about the Logitech Brio 4K, man?
No, well, you pretty much said it all. This would be my go-to cam. I mean, if you were to say, hey, Logitech's coming out with a newer, Brio Extreme or whatever, I would probably still stay with just the regular Brio. I am quite happy with it. It does what I need to do, especially when it comes to recording YouTube videos, that kind of stuff. So it doesn't matter what content. It doesn't necessarily have to be live streaming. You can also use it to shoot stationary YouTube videos, that kind of stuff. Like Dale said, though, this wouldn't be optimal, if you're traveling around. Now, however, if you're traveling around with, like, say, a laptop, and especially once conventions start opening up again and you want to do, like, side-by-side type interviews type thing, slap that puppy up on top of your laptop or even buy a cheap mount or tripod for it, and it's great. Now, I will say the mic is probably, I wouldn't say subpar, because there's worse cam mics out there. But I would highly recommend, if you are going to take it on the road and travel with it, recording via a laptop, definitely take along some lavaliers or a snowball mic or Yeti mic or something.
Yeah, good call. And that was something we hadn't talked about in the C920, and the C920 actually has a decent mic. It fair warning, anytime you're using a webcam mic, you're going to be getting a lot of bleed. You're going to be getting a lot of ambient sound. It's not necessarily omnidirectional, cardioid. That's the word I'm looking for. You know, you're not doing it straight forward here. It's getting everything around. C920's got a good onboard mic, but Logitech Brio, for some reason, I don't know if they dropped the ball, but it sometimes tends to just be wonky. Every now and then I've had like a robot voice on it. Like you even heard it before we even got set here. And but you know, here's the thing is, if you're new to live streaming, I'm just going to say this. These first two options are dead simple, like plug and play. I mean, they look nice, and you don't need to worry about being a master videographer. You can just put it up on your monitor, be good to go, and it's all set. The problem is when you start to step away from webcams, and this is what I've run into over the past month, is you go over to the land of DSLR cameras, you're dealing with a bigger learning curve. You're having to go in and figure out like things like the f-stop. Like I'm talking to my boy Jeff Eatley, and he's just kind of like, yeah, man, you got to get this f-stop. It's going to be over. One's good, and if it goes higher, it's not as good because, you know, it doesn't get as much, you know, light into there. And I'm just like, bro, like it's having a conversation with you where I'm like, I'm completely lost. So it's a whole new world. So in the event that you're like, I just need something simple, Dale, something that's cost effective and something that will last me a long time, we can both agree on this one. The Logitech brand, we're Logitech fanboys. We love some Logitech.
Oh, yeah. I use Logitech keyboards, Logitech mouse. I mean, you name it. The only thing I don't go with is Logitech, like mics or anything like that. But and that's just because of the fact that I'm kind of a Yeti fanboy. I know a lot of people cringe when they hear me say that. But, I mean, Snowball mics and Yeti mics are definitely good entry-level microphones as starting live streaming as well.
Yeah.
Without breaking the break. And by the way, I'd like to shout out Inside the Lab PC. Thank you for the 10 spot there. Look at that. Is that a flying peach? I'm hoping that's a flying peach.
It says para-character flying in the air with a red cape and a smile on his face. Thank you so much. All righty. And by the way, folks, remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, we are actually, the main party is over on Amazon Live. Thankfully, we've got Restream kind of managing all this stuff. We just send it to them and it aggregates out everywhere. But the real party is happening over on Amazon Live. So join us over at livestreamingtech.com/Amazon Live, and you can see some of these products directly below us. And we won't have any links inside the description to these products on YouTube or Twitch or anywhere else. So if you want to join the party, come on over. We're still live and kicking. All right, man. So we covered the C920. We've covered the Brio. Let's go to the next one. It's the big daddy, and that is, of course, going to be the Sony A6400. Sadly, I think at this point you're not going to be able to chime in too much.
I'm left out of the party on this one. I have not played with that, and I don't think you're going to allow me to play with that anytime soon.
I won't mind it and such. So here's the thing: is I've got the discretionary expense, folks. I've got a larger channel called Self-Publishing with Dale on YouTube, and I get enough through AdSense, course sales, consulting, and such like that I can justify an expense like this. So when you hear this is a considerable jump up. I watch, and I'm a huge fan of Sean Cannell over on YouTube, and he does Think Media is the name of his channel. And he had done a comparison between, I think it was the Canon, one of the Canon products, and the Sony A6400. After watching that, I was like, done. I was like, Sony A6400, I want it. You know, it's light, it's versatile. It does the depth of field, which we can't see, unfortunately, with, you know, the zoom like the way it is right now. And I'm kind of like, okay, done. And it does autofocus on a subject. So if I were to dip out of frame, it's going to probably end up focusing on one of these things in the background here. There's so many features about it. Now, just a heads up, there's more you're going to need with a Sony A6400 than, say, what you're going to need for a Logitech Brio or Logitech C920. Those are plug and play. With a DSLR, you're dealing with, you got to get, first of all, the body. Then you got to get a good lens. Then you got to get a mini HDMI to HDMI, and then you actually have to have some type of a cam link, which I use an Elgato 4K cam link. That one was another one that kind of jacked up in price. But I do have these inside the links down below here on Amazon Live. You can take a look at all those things I just mentioned. So here's the deal, dude. And this is where I know you freak out whenever I tell you this stuff. For just the Sony, if you were just to get the body alone, my recollection, it was like $700. I just linked out to something that, like this picture right here between us, that has the lens on it automatically, that runs about $800 to $900, which isn't too terrible.
$998 is what it's currently going for.
Keep in mind, it does shoot in 4K. Okay, so it does shoot in 4K, and you can do anything below that, 30 frames per second.
And you get a flip screen. You got a flip screen.
You got the flip screen. Awesome. Now, here's the thing I want to give a fair warning here. So you can see this up here, everybody. You'll notice right above the lens is where you can actually put a shoe in. That means that you can slip in, say, a shotgun mic. You can put a light on there. You can put a monitor on there if you wanted to. Here's the big gripe that I have, is if you want to do any of that and use the flip up, screen, the problem is the view becomes obstructed. So you're going to need to end up probably getting a cage. Now for me right now, since we're not traveling anywhere, I won't get the cage that goes around it, and you can use the different options. But I'm sure when everything kind of opens up, maybe when I go to Vid Summit next year, I'll probably need to grab that. So that's some of the just hidden costs when it comes to getting a camera like this. To me, it's worth the investment. I wanted to invest in my business. Did I need it? No. I mean, for instance, Walt, you and I, one of our favorite streamers, PewDiePie, doesn't use anything super, super fancy. In fact, I think he just upgraded to a great camera.
Yes, just did it.
10 years, and he'd been doing 720 for the longest time. He switched over to 1080, and then here more recently, he's just 1080, 60 frames per second, I think, with a DSLR of some sort. So it kind of goes to show, and I know that PewDiePie is
content is king. Yes, content is king. So that's the other thing too. So I mean, Dale's, he's bringing out the big guns and stuff. So when it comes to live streaming, it all comes down, and this goes for pre-recorded content as well. It comes down to you, the creator, the content. What is the quality of the content? Are you putting out information? Are you putting out entertainment that people enjoy and love? They can forgive you when it comes to, say, a lesser quality image. Now, microphone, that's a totally different story, but we'll save that for another stream.
Yes, yeah, for sure, because we're going to cover microphones. Lord knows I've bought my fair share of microphones, and that'll probably be a fun one for us to kind of cover in future streams. And
sounds like another Friday stream to me.
Yeah, for sure. Sound is absolutely key. You would think we'd start with mics, but today we wanted, since this was kind of like a test run over on Amazon Live, we wanted to kind of make sure that we had everything dialed in, so that's why we just went simple. PewDiePie, never heard of him. Simply Beth, you got jokes. Dr. Elo says this, Canon M50 versus Sony A6400. Yes, that was the video. Fantastic. If you guys ever get the opportunity, look up Think Media and see the comparison between Canon M50 versus Sony A6400. I know Sean's got quite a few other videos about the Sony A6400 and especially like how to dial it in and such. So, yes. But at any rate, yeah, we've burned through each one of those. So let me do just a really quick comparison here, and I'm going to shut this picture off of the screen here. So this is the Sony A6400. Now here's the cool thing. Let me just show you guys and gals something really neat. I'm just going to shut off my light. And see, it's still showing great quality. If I do that for something like, say, for instance, the C920. Let's move over to the C920. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so here's the C920. You can see I'm really washed out. At least when I have the light on this side, it balances it out. So when you do get a good camera, bear in mind, you may have to account for getting some lighting. I'm fortunate that I have a large picture window right here. So that's one nice thing in my favor. Now let's go ahead, let's try out the Brio 4K. And unfortunately, I think it's got a little bit of an advantage because it's angled that way that the light's straight onto me. But at any rate, let's go ahead over to the Brio. And so here's the Brio. So you can see it's super clean. Like, and by the way, no tweaking here. This is factory settings.
Yep, plug and play right there. That's
so yeah, just kind of just shows you that it's just amazing. So you're probably, everybody's going, oh my gosh, he is certifiably insane. when Brio is doing this great, why did he end up upgrading to Sony A6400? Again, it's about versatility, and I wanted to get something that I could use anywhere, everywhere, and also something that a conversation I had with my video editor, Dan Norton. Dan said to me when I got ready to go buy a camera, I was looking at one, and it shot at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and he's like, "Look, I know not many people are doing 4K right now." It's like, I know it's not. But he's like, save yourself some money and heartache, future-proof yourself, invest a little bit more and get something that can do 4K. So there you go. But the Brio looks mint. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I like the Brio. I won't ever get rid of that anytime soon. Like, I really do dig it. Now, C920, like I said, my wife uses that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, even if they came out with a newer Brio and even if it was somewhat closer to the same price point, I would still stick with this Brio, just because of the fact that if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, correct. And for you, obviously, folks, we're not independently, you know, wealthy here through live streaming tech. And I'm sorry, Peter doesn't rob, Peter doesn't rob Paul to pay Mary or anything else like that. You don't use Peter to rob. You get what I mean. Gosh darn it. My brain just went and glitched on me. But either way, I'm not taking from self-publishing with Dale to give Walt an A6400. So
yeah.
I do see that Dr. Elo just dropped a 5-spot. Thank you so much, my friend. That is really cool of you. I know Dr. Elo, dude. He's got some good stuff. He's got some good stuff. I know we chatted a couple of times through People of Video, and yeah, he's got some good gear. So, and
that's the other thing too. There's nothing wrong with, especially if you're just starting into content creating, whether it be live streaming or recording. Piecemeal it. You know, I mean, you slowly build up your, you know, yeah, exactly. Don't try to jump in all head first, because here's the thing: live streaming is definitely not for everyone.
No,
it's like anything else. And same thing with just content creating. You might find that it's too stressful. You might, especially live streaming, even though there's no longer a grinding it out on Twitch or on YouTube per se, when it comes to live streaming.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, is you still have to go live enough to keep your audience engaged with you. And there's a high burnout rate. There really is. And even some of the bigger names, they have to step away. You know, they'll have to take a month or two off just to decompress and spend time with their family and stuff.
It can be very stressful, folks. And you know, as I know this stream has gone from talking about webcams to getting burnout and such. Just keep in mind that if you're doing any kind of live streaming, folks, that it does take a mental and physical toll on you. I know right after we're done probably disconnecting, I'm probably going to make myself some ice cream, might go for a walk, relax a little bit, because, you know, you have to kind of put yourself out there. I know it was very stressful when we were getting on, because at first I couldn't figure out why I wasn't feeding out to Amazon Live. And it was a Dale problem. Apparently I just didn't hit go live on the app, because that's how that works. But yeah, so at any rate, boy, we're starting to kind of, you know, wrap things up here. If you are watching again over on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, remember the whole party's on over on Amazon Live. You can go on over there. You know, thankfully, dude, do you remember back in the day when we used to just...
Hopefully they have that chat up next time we're on Amazon Live.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I was like, where's the chat at, Amazon? So we're definitely going to have to reach out to somebody on that one and find out what's going on.
We're super fortunate that we're still able to see the chat, though, aggregated through Restream, because right now I can see over here, I can see all the YouTube stuff. I don't know that we have... Well, we had one person watching on Twitch at one point. We had a couple people watching inside the Facebook group, but that's one of the beauties of this. You know, remember back in the day when we had to, in order to multi-stream, you had to have like 5 mobile devices.
5 different brands. Yep.
I know. I think it was like, it might have been, I think it was Todd Live said once that he had like over a dozen iPads, because he used to do it that way. And
then they're all different angles too.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? I mean, gosh, you'd have to have all these different cameras set up and such like that. But thankfully, those days are gone. You know, it's so much easier. Remember, have a glass of water before you go live. Oh baby, I'm on top of it. Simply, Beth. Look at that. I'm already halfway down on this one. But yes, so at any rate, would love to hear from each and every single one of you and what you thought of some of these products and such, which were some of your choices. Which one, if you had the money which one would you get? Now, don't think you're going to hurt my feelings if you go, I'm not going to spend money on an A6400. Just tell me, which one do you think was the best? The C920, the Brio, or the A6400? We definitely would love to hear from each and every single one of you. I'm going to kill the Amazon live stream here. Hang on a second, Walt, because in just 2 seconds, we are going to go ahead and do the end screen to send somebody to the next video. So right down below, Walt, go ahead and point down there. We have no idea where we're going to send you to. It's going to be a surprise. And if you like surprises like we do, then you're going to go ahead and click that very next video. We definitely appreciate each and every single one of you joining us here. Take care.